Okay, in this video I want to show you how to actually update our cygwin installation. And so navigate back to, in Windows File Explorer, navigate back to where you downloaded the setup program before, and that was in my downloads directory. In addition to the setup file here, there's also a directory that contains all of the software that was actually downloaded and installed. So this is actually not needed after after you run setup programs. So if you want, you can just delete this. Again, as I install new software, we'll see that directory is actually recreated. Um, but I can delete it after the installation at every time, in every case. So let me run setup again, and it popped up on my other screen, so let me drag it here. So I'll go through some of the, we click through, it remembers the settings from the previous installation. So for the most part, it remembers my root directory. I can just click through, and it even remembers the download site that I selected previously. It'll download a file containing all the current packages. When I start, let me minimize this a bit here. When I get to the package selection window, there's nothing present. That's because the pending view is selected. There is nothing pending. So if there were any updates to any of the software that I had installed, I'd see packages listed here. So again, if you want to update your cygwin system, just run setup occasionally, and then click through and hit next again if there were pending packages. I'm going to go back to, actually let me go to the category view. I want to install additional software. So I've got a development system here. So we've got a basic cygwin system with a shell, terminal window, some basic Unix commands, but I don't have a C or C++ development environment set up. So in the category view, I can click on the devel and look through. There's literally hundreds of different programs here. Let me scroll down until I see GCC, and then I want the GCC core, and then I also want GCC-G++ for my C++ setup. If you want Objective-C, or I'm going to go ahead and select Fortran. You can select those. I see GDB down here. I'm going to select that as well. That's the GNU debugger. And then another program that we'll want installed is actually Make. Instead of scrolling down to that, I'm actually going to use the search feature and type in Make, and then so what that'll do will show me all the different categories that now contain something that lists the string make. Here in the archive, there's a make self program. That's not the one I want. I think the make I really want is actually in the devel group. Again, there's some auto makes and C makes and things like that, but here's the one I'm after. Make, the GNU version of the make utility. So again, I click over here where it says skip, and then I get to the installation version. Actually, if I click here again, it cycles back and forth between different versions, and when I clicked on it the first time, it actually gave me the latest version, but I'm going to keep cycling through until I get the latest version of Make that's available. Actually, let me go back. Let me click in the pending view, and clear this. So I'll see all the things that are pending and make sure that I've got the latest version of all of this software, and I do. Actually, there's an 8.0 version of the GNU debugger, so let me go back to the category view. In addition, one thing I would suggest that you install is, let me search for man or man pages, and then it's got man pages POSIX. I'm going to install that. This will actually contain the man pages for a lot of the library routines, especially in the C standard library, and then a lot of the POSIX compliant library calls that we'll be using later on. I use Secure Shell a lot, so we can actually just type in SSH and look. It's probably going to be in the net area, and the open SSH is the server and client programs. I'm only going to be using the client program. Won't actually start the server. Some other utilities that you might find useful, I use the screen program. Let's see, that's probably here under utils. Select that. Yeah, looks like the first click actually gives me the latest version. Something else you might find useful, if I can find it here, is DOS to Unix. Probably under the Unix. This actually will install a little utility that will convert carriage return line feed endings to line feed endings. I think as part of this package it probably also includes the Unix to DOS, but I can search for that just to make sure that that's not a separate package, and it's not. You might want, you should have the tar archiving utility already installed, but I'll install both zip and unzip utilities. And then we've already got, if I do a search for VI, actually the VI we're using is VI improved or VIM, and so I look in the editors, and actually probably what was installed was the base VI, and the base system is a Vim minimal. I can update that to include the VI improved, and I'm going to leave out the documentation. The other thing that maybe a little more user-friendly editor is Emacs, and I'm going to have a couple different options here. There's the core Emacs utility that will actually run inside of my terminal window. There's actually a Windows version of Emacs that uses the native Windows GUI. So you might, so this will be actually a graphical window in the Windows interface, so you might want to install that one. We come back and install the Unix graphical system, the X Windows system. I'll try to remember to install the Emacs X11 version. Let's see. A couple other utilities you might want are Perl. It's probably here in the interpreters, so we'll install Perl. You can install the Perl man pages if you want. I've got plenty of room on my system. I think by default on the selection it'll install any dependencies, so it'll install the Perl base system. Python, again under the interpreters. Just want the Python 3. Have to, that's the language interpreter. I don't know that we need the Python 3 devel. If I need it, I can always come back and install that later. I use wget a lot to download stuff off the internet. It's here actually under the web area. And then we'll be using the SQLite database library. So let me see where that's probably here under the database area, and SQLite 3 client programs, and then we'll also need the lib SQLite 3 devel. And so now I've selected a lot of different utilities. I can go into the pending area and see all the stuff that's now going to be installed. And so this will get us started with development. The next window shows all the corresponding packages, not only those that I selected, but all that are going to be automatically added because of the dependencies. So a lot of different libraries and utilities are going to be installed. So I'll let this complete downloading here. And I think I'll just end the video here while this is finishing the installation. You should be familiar with the rest of it. After it installs everything, I'll just click next to click on through. In the next video, I'll show you how to actually just get started with using some of the new utilities that we've downloaded to do some basic C++ development within cygwin. And then after that, I'll do a follow-up video on getting started with the graphical user interface, the X Windows interface that's standard under Unix and Linux, and is available via the cygwin system.